internationally, are the Boks ready for the Lions? And will they rue not going down to that championship next year? And I know everyone talks about it. I actually said at the time I couldn't believe they weren't going. I thought that they were more worried about damaged reputation as world champions rather than looking at the bigger picture. For me personally, I would have encouraged them to go, or you pin your colours to the mast and say, we're going down there with a young team. This is our chance to do some development during this whole thing.
Yes.
The boys are overplayed. They're burnt out. We're going down there. But G-Man, you've got quite a strong opinion on this. Are you genuinely worried that this Lions tour, the Boks could get blown away?
I'm, to be honest, I am actually quite petrified of this because of the international exposure and experience these guys have been playing right now. And I mean, the level K6 Nations, it wasn't the greatest time, and we can moan about the referees, but the boys have been playing international rugby for the past year and a half. South Africa's played nowhere. So already these guys are getting prepped and built and motivated and encouraged and forming some sort of camaraderie, even though they're not even together. They're at least bringing something. And so that makes me worried. Do I think we can beat the Lions? Definitely. Like you said, there are South Africans playing overseas who are currently in great form, and they can assist us in going there. But I am nervous about the boys who are locally playing here. I feel they haven't had enough exposure to the international field, to different types of how guys can play. And like Renan said earlier, Rassie is a genius. Jacques is his sidekick. They will have had a plan and a game plan, but I still feel we could have done more for the Springboks to at least get some sort of camaraderie while we're waiting right now for this tournament to go. So to answer your question, I'm nervous. I'm very worried, but I do feel we can do it. But I do see a 2-1 happening. I'm not going to say who, but we will get somewhere in it. But I am nervous of this Lions team. These boys are coming to kill.
How much of the Springboks' success this year against the Lions potentially is going to be down to players that are overseas rather than in South Africa?
My personal opinion is I think it's going to play a huge role. They are, for me, I actually mentioned it in one of our shows last week, that I think that obviously, well, not that I think, I know that the guys in Europe and playing abroad, basically, they are in form. They've got much more game time. And so they are going to be, I almost want to call it the core of the Boks. We're going to have to, the guys that are locally based are going to have to kind of like fit in around them and, just contribute whatever they can. But that's going to be the strength of our team, is the guys basically being based abroad. That's my opinion. I don't see it any other way because they've just got so much more game time behind them.
No, I have to agree with Jacques. He actually answered that question very well. You should have given him a more difficult question, Andy. I'm disappointed. No, look, I agree with Jacques. And if you look at the kind of game that Faf is playing, that Damien de Allende is playing, the game is life, man. You've got your Cheslin Colby. Those guys will form the nucleus of the Boks. And if you can bring them here, and they can stay injury-free between now and the test series, they will be your kingpins. That's just a fact. They will. Those will be the guys that we'll be looking at. And I have confidence in them. They match fit. They inform. That's what you want. But I just want to add a small asterisk to that. Gareth, you spoke about the form of the players overseas versus the guys here. The other international teams have played as a team. You cannot just look at the individuals. Yeah. You have to look at the teams. And those guys have, like you said, they've had 2 Six Nations and all 3 Cup series. So those teams have progressed. Look at Scotland, look at France. They've progressed. Okay, France is not part of this equation, but I'm mentioning them. Look at Scotland. Scotland have progressed. Wales have progressed exponentially. The Boks have been static as a team, in a team setup. There's nothing been happening. Reasons we're not going to repeat now, but that's what worries me. If you take the Lions now, and you've got Welsh players who will be confident, you've got Scottish players who will be confident, you've got Irish players who've actually picked up a bit of speed now. I think the English players will have question marks. The other guys will be confident they have momentum, which means the Lions will have momentum. The Boks will lack momentum. They'll have to start from scratch. I'm worried. I'm worried about that.
Just to jump back to Jacques, are you at the time, were you annoyed that they didn't go and play in the Rugby Championship last year? Yes or no? But has your opinion on that changed since?
At the time, I wasn't for them to go.
What was the reasons for that? Was that a damaged reputation thing, or did you just genuinely think they wouldn't?
Yeah, it was partly that. I don't think the whole thing of having to be in quarantine and your overseas, because the Boks have a lot of overseas-based players. It was a culmination of things that just wouldn't have worked out for us, which would have ultimately damaged the reputation, world rankings. Yes, and I know at some stage they said they wouldn't. They won't touch the world rankings, and we, the World Cup draw was eventually held based on the world rankings as of what was it, the 1st of January 2020, something like that. So when those kind of things suddenly came out, then it was almost like, well, it wouldn't have mattered really. But at that stage, for me, it was like a no-brainer not to go. But now, like a month or two ago, I would say rather about a month ago, I just started looking at things a bit differently and saying, but when question marks were starting to hang over the Rainbow Cup, the rumors started coming up that it's not going to happen anymore and what. It was suddenly a realization of, but guys, we are running out of time with the British and Irish Lions tour on literally on our front doors. The Boks haven't played for as long as it took Rassie to prepare them for the World Cup, basically. It's almost gone in reverse gear. So now you started suddenly wondering, but also the reason for thinking that is the financial impact that it's starting to have. Because I've spoken to guys, and if they didn't work things out, in regards to the Rainbow Cup happening the way it is happening now, like at one stage it was completely off. It would have been so damaging that South African rugby would have seen more pay cuts, similar to what we saw during lockdown, and that would have been completely damaging. Never mind whatever else was in the pipeline for that matter. But thankfully they could salvage something with this Rainbow Cup. South African teams playing against each other, 5.0, whatever you want to call it. And they've, some money has been salvaged, to be honest, to answer your question in short, yes, I think they should have probably gone.